All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to welcome you to the Eclipse season webinar. My name's Amanda Poole-Walsh, and I'm the co-founder of Astrology Hub. And I am so thrilled. I don't even know if thrilled is the right word, but I am just elated to be here with David Palmer, the Leo King, here tonight. David, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Amanda. I'm stoked to be in the Astrology Hub world.
Woohoo! Me too. So I don't want to make the assumption that everybody knows you already. I know a lot of people calling in are from your audience, but there's a lot of people calling in from the Astrology Hub community who may or may not be familiar with your work. So I was thinking that we could introduce you and then dive into the Eclipse season content. And then I wanted to just let everybody know that we are going to be showering you all with some gifts at the end of the call. So just make sure and hang in there as long as you can, because we have some awesome gifts to share with you at the end. Does that sound good, David?
Oh, it always is all good, baby. Ready to go.
All right. Okay. So as many of you know, David is a TV personality. He's a house DJ. He is the CEO of his own company. He develops mobile apps and produces tons of videos. He's also one of the most beloved and followed astrologers in the world. And while all of that is super impressive and awesome, it is not the reason why I was so keen to collaborate with you, David. And the reason why I was so excited to collaborate with you and help you to get out to the world is because of the impact you've had on my life personally. And so I just wanted to share a little bit about that. About 2.5 years ago, I went into what I call pretty much like the darkest time of my life. My 19-year relationship and marriage was falling apart. And this is with a man I have 2 children with. He's also a Leo, by the way. And so it was a really, really, really dark time, the kind of time that I know so many people on the call right now can relate with. Obviously, we've all been going through it. And so, you know, there were days where I would wake up in the middle of the night with that knot in the stomach, you know, like sweating, and there were days, many days in a row where I'd just be crying, and it seemed really hopeless at the time. But I have to say that being able to tune into your daily horoscope so many times just helped me pull through, because it helped me to realize the context that this was all happening within, that there was a purpose, that it was clearing space for something bigger, brighter, and better to come through. And it also helped me to feel connected with other people. It helped me to realize, like, there's an intelligence behind this. You're not alone. A lot of people are going through this all at the same time. So even though I didn't know any of you, I already felt connected. And just knowing that you were there and we were all in this together helped me through really what is, you know, and I know, again, many of you can relate, just the darkest time of my life. So I'm here today. Well, the other thing is you're pretty much woven into the fabric of Astrology Hub. Because I don't think if your daily horoscope and your daily text messages through the app and all that, if that wasn't so present in my life, I don't know if I would have had the passion to want to bring astrology forth and really give astrologers and astrology a platform and a voice like we're doing at Astrology Hub. So you're big in the world of Astrology Hub and in my life. And I sit here today in deep gratitude and appreciation. And I'm just so honored to have you. So thank you for all the work that you're doing, your dedication, your discipline, your commitment to your path that just shines forth in everything that you do. It's so inspiring. So thank you.
Wow. I don't know how to respond to that. That's pretty deep and pretty emotional right there for me. I have to say that when you bring up that we're all in this together, that was what started this for me. Was I hated the term mundane astrology. And that's what started all this. I was like, I went to the astrology conference in 2012, and I don't want to go in the story first without saying just thank you for how precious that statement was and everything that you said and your support, because it means the world to me, and I'm extremely humbled by it. So thank you very much. And I want to let you know that I resonate and feel it 100% from you. But yeah, in 2012, I went to the UAC, the whatever astrology conference in New Orleans. And so I was this young, hot astrologer, like, oh, I'm going to go be this hot astrologer in the world. And then they were using the term mundane astrology, this, that, and that's how they talked about everything, right? And I'm like, what? Mundane? I looked it up in the definition of the dictionary, and it literally means like flat-lined and boring and just overall whatever. So that's why I was like, we're all in this together. And I'm a big 2012er. So I was like really big in the Mayan calendar. I knew the shift was coming and how funny we're talking about solar eclipses right now. On the solar eclipse on May 20th and 21st of 2012, the one that was in 0 degree Gemini, I had this huge, that week before was huge because Jupiter was leaving Taurus and there was a solar eclipse in Gemini, and that was all in my 10th house, and that's all the star of the Pleiades. And I had really been connecting with the Pleiadian energy really highly. And so I knew at that moment that we were about to shift hugely, and that's when I started doing horoscopes every day. It was like April of 2012. I saw in the astrology, I'm like, I need to do this every day. And it's not about just giving people the horoscope. It's making them all know that we're in this together, that we're all, astrology affects us all at the same level, and kind of separating from the sun sign horoscope world, because that has kind of dominated astrology for so long. And even just individual chart, like, sure, I could change your life with a reading, or any astrologer can give you, what Capricorn's going through or Pisces is going through. But man, when we're all going through something on Earth, and you can actually see that within everybody in the fabric of that, that's when you have reached, I think, the higher level of consciousness, or the collective consciousness, which is, I've patented the term illuminating the collective consciousness. That was the whole shtick behind it.
One of my questions tonight, David, was where did that come from? But yeah, totally. And I think what you do so well is you help to make astrology relevant, like in our day-to-day experience. And it becomes a thing that we can use to navigate our life. And that's one of the pretenses behind, or that one of the missions of Astrology Hub is to help make astrology something that people are using. It's a real tool. It's practical. It's tangible. It's fun. It's accessible. And you embody all of that. So incredible. And just the amount of discipline it must take. Is it discipline, or is it just that you love it so much that it's just has to come out? Is that more accurate?
It's three things. Number one, I love it so much, and it's everything. But before that came my dedication to God. I don't know what God is. I don't know if he has a face, a name, or whatever, but I'm a huge God person. And I made a huge commitment to God and the architects of the universe when I started, that I was going to put my life in their hands, in God's hands, to deliver the message. And I realized, because I'm going to get a little deep astrology-wise here, I'm Sun in the 12th house. Usually that's not a good placement. Usually your life goes to shit. They always talk about you end up in hospitals and jails, and things don't work out for Sun in the 12th people. Well, I realized, what is the other side of Sun in the 12th? It's spirituality, it's consciousness, it's higher dimensional connection. And I realized, oh my gosh, I will only make it through this life good if I'm on the spiritual door. So every other door that wasn't spiritual didn't work for me. Anytime I tried to be a reality TV star, which I was, man, I got booed and I got, huge negative comments. Whenever I tried to, do anything in my life that wasn't spiritual, it just crashed. Total 12th house, the tower card, just bah. So I was like, I made a dedication to God. I love the crap out of astrology. And then there is a dedication of if I'm doing the work for God, there is no such thing as a day off, because I feel that from 2012 moving forward until the day I die, I have to be that messenger. And that's just what it is. It's some days I'll be honest, I get behind that camera and I'm like, I do not want to do this right now. This is the last thing on earth I want to do. But then I think about everybody who benefits from it. I think about my mission for God, and I just go, well, this is my mission. This is what I'm here to do. And this is why I'm here. And that's what keeps me doing it. And to be honest with you, some other force takes over me. I don't do this stuff. The Leo King is a soul. Mm. And I am David Palmer, and I let the Leo King take over. The David Palmer guy's pretty boring. You know what I mean? He's wants to just go at home and play video games and read books, and and watch movies, like, you know, but then the Leo King wants to, you know, change the world of astrology and make it really impactful and inspirational and change your perception and inspire you and be, I wanted to combine like Tony Robbins and Joel Osteen with astrology. I was like, let's just kind of just merge them together and then blast it off with kind of a celebrity style way of doing it. Like a, I don't know, you know, like a real rock star way to do it.
Yeah, bringing the glamour. It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, you do it really well. My son's in the 12th house too. So I'm totally relating with like when I go off course of the spiritual thing and try to do other things, it's totally disastrous for myself and everyone around me. So it's just better to stay the course. Okay. So let's go into the eclipse. Tell us what's happening. I know we have one coming up in August and then we have 2 in September. So what's the deal?
Well, it's interesting. Before we break down each eclipse and just the eclipse, let's just look at the time period of the eclipses, right? So technically on this new moon that we're happening today on August 2nd, we have now entered what I call eclipse period, because now that the moon is going to work its way up for the next 2 weeks to the first prenumeral lunar eclipse. Now what prenumeral means is like, or prenumbral, it's like, it's what it is it's an eclipse that barely shadows the moon. Like it does it enough, but it's still not full. So it's like, I call it like a little infant being born early and you're putting it in the incubator. It's not a hard eclipse, but it is enough that it's alive. It's coming out early. It's barely touching the moon. So we are in eclipse season. And so from August 2nd, and let's just say until the beginning of October, when we finally get to that new moon in Libra, that is in October, this is a portal. And eclipses are portals. They shift our life. And this is a bigger portal than the other portal that happened in, you know, the March time when we had the last set of eclipses, because the north node is in Virgo. So when you have the north node eclipses, those are the more direction, more of the path that we're leading. The south node eclipses in Pisces, which we were at 6 months ago, are much more clearing, much more where you need to kind of release and let go. And you know, so there's this really exciting portal opening up here of really creating change in your life that you can actually physically see. It's Virgo. It's Virgo. I mean, this is the solar eclipse in Virgo. Now, lunar eclipses are strong, but nothing compares to a solar eclipse. So that solar eclipse on September 1st is radical. Because when we're going to break it down, but it's radical because it's in the middle of the 2-month cycle that I'm talking about, August to October, right? Like dead on the middle, like September 1st. And it's right in the middle of a huge T-square with Saturn that's stationary, that just went direct at that time, and then Neptune. So it's going to be right in the middle of some really crazy planetary positions. And it's going to dead exactly oppose Neptune, which we've never seen in our lifetime, by the way. We've never seen an eclipse touch Neptune at its home position. So we are all entering into this really exciting yet very unknown world. There's a lot of the unknown around. Like I know, like it's exciting, but it's like I have no idea which direction it's going to kind of turn. We all have been, I think, dying for change. I think that the last 4-year story of Saturn in Scorpio, Mars finishing in Scorpio, was really hard for people. It's unexpected, especially because I feel that people have really risen in consciousness over the last, let's say 10 years, more than they did in the 80s when the last time Saturn was in Scorpio. So it's like you feel it more. And especially that the galactic shift happened in 2012 on December 21st. We are at a whole new cycle of the galactic cycle, which means our consciousness is way more aware than it's ever been before. So this is the first time we ever saw kind of darkness. And even though 2012 was all about bringing the light, you got to see all that dark stuff first. And so we're kind of coming out of this dark jail per se and walking into our new future. And it's like extremely unknown. I mean, honestly relate it to a jail cell, you know, person leaving jail, and you have no family and you have nobody out there to kind of do, and you don't know what job you're going to get. And you're kind of as a soul kind of like, well, where in the hell is this all going? And it's exciting, but there is a lot of mystery. There's a lot of unknown with it. And there's a lot of having to be tough. And I hate to say that this eclipse cycle is about really being tough because Saturn's squaring it. and Saturn's going to be in the middle of this whole eclipse pattern. And
so, David, does it seem like in some ways, because of all the change that's happened over the last 4 years, we're all in some ways pioneers of a whole new reality for ourselves? We don't have a lot of role models of people who have done this before. There's like new frontiers that we're all exploring in our lives. So it's kind of like the rest of our lives are so much more unknown than we might have thought they would be. Does that seem accurate? And also I wanted to know, have there
that
been like,
resonates well.
Have there been clues that, you know, it's not going to be like something totally unexpected out of the blue, is it? Or, you know, are there like indicators of where we're going?
This is the thing. From 2011 until Neptune gets out of Pisces, which is around the time Pluto leaves Capricorn, right? We're in Neptune and Pisces world. We've never actually seen this, right? The last time was in the 1840s, late 1840s through the 1860s. So we've never seen Neptune and Pisces. And no matter how much you want to look at any eclipse pattern or any new moon or any transit, like just having Neptune in its home sign and sit there for that long, for like, you know, the 14-year cycle that it's going to be under, is extremely, where the hell is this going? It's like Earth is stoned. And then when you combine the shift of 2012, you have to remember that it was such an intense shift in the galactic cycle of the clock that feeling you had pre-December 21st, 2012, or I would actually say it started in May of 2012. That was the ticker. That was the, it never is going to ever go back to that feeling. Like, and I think people need to get like used to the new energy. There's no such thing as it. Oh, well, there's too much past looking, because what does Neptune and Pisces represent? The past. There's too much like, I want it to just be like it was in, 2006 when I was sitting there and having a great time. And it felt like there was stability on earth and stability in my soul and stability in the universe. Really, it was suppression. And it was just you just comfortable in being completely unconscious, to be very honest with everybody. I don't care. And, there were some leaders that were out that were pushing it, but even them couldn't reach the level that we're at now. So when you combine all that, we're all pioneers, like you say, because what happened in 1848 when Neptune entered Pisces? The pioneers went out west and found gold. So it's just a new pioneer. And I think the gold is understanding what is going on, because they didn't really know about Neptune and Pisces back then. Okay. Because if you think about it, like Neptune had just been found in 1846. Okay. 1848, boom, Neptune comes into Pisces. How ironic, right? So the pioneers really kind of went into this weird new world. And that was actually when fortune telling started coming out. It was all about like the girl with the crystal ball at the fair and stuff like that, like in the 1800s, like coming to bring up. And so spirituality really started to kind of find itself. Now we're at that same time, but this one's got way more going on with the fact that Pluto now has been found. Pluto hadn't been found in 1846 when they found Neptune. So now, in the 30s when they found Pluto, now you're adding another layer of consciousness to it, and it's extreme now. And we didn't have Chiron in the mix, right? So, and Chiron's in Pisces with Neptune. So this is a time where it's okay that you feel off. It's okay that you don't feel like everything's aligned right, because what is Pisces? It's not Virgo. Virgo is like, oh my gosh, everything's in a row and everything's straight and the carpet's clean and I feel great and my sheets are tucked in and I know everything and I know where everything's at and I feel okay. Neptune and Pisces is like on a ship and then a big wave comes. Have you ever watched that movie, The Perfect Storm? Like with George Clooney, like, oh, we're going to make it. And then it's like, are you insane? Like, you're not going to make it. It's the biggest perfect storm. Like, you're not going to make it. Sorry.
So it seems like it's becoming very important for all of us to become comfortable with the unknown.
100%.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So do you want to talk about each of the eclipses individually and what each one signifies for us, or the themes that they're going to bring up?
Sure. This first one that's going to happen on August 18th with the sun in Leo and moon in Aquarius, it's not full. Like I said, it's a baby eclipse, let's call it. But what it's signaling is it's re-bringing back connection to your heart, reconnection back to happiness, reconnection to even kind of getting what's going on. I mean, even though I'm saying we don't know what's going on, there's a lot of unknown. Aquarius rules, Uranus. It rules the enlightenment. It rules the understanding of things. And I think what we're focusing on is more of a personal kind of breakthrough. Like, wow, I can finally love again, because the fixed signs had Saturn through Scorpio and Mars through Scorpio do all of its malefic shadow work from 2012 to now. It just ended today, August 2nd, 2016. So, this eclipse really brings back the wholesome love and the fixed signs energy 100%. That's all it's really kind of doing. That's the way I look at it spiritually, is bringing you back to love, bringing you back to connection to others, bringing you back to feeling like you can kind of feel the sensuality of life again. Because when you're in that unknown space and you don't have any of the fixed signs working right, guess what happens? You feel like you're dead. You feel like you're like, why am I even here? Because the fixed signs represent why we're here. They represent God in the Bible, right? It's a man, Aquarius, the lion, Leo, the eagle, Scorpio, and Taurus, the bull. And it even says in the Bible that. And it even says that in the world card, or it even, it says it all over the place. The fixed signs are the middle. They're the meat and potatoes of our whole journey. And they're in the middle of the season. So when those don't work, and then when you're in this unknown feeling of Neptune, oh my gosh, you feel like you're hollow. This is about, at least we're refilling the cup, but we're still in the unknown, if that makes sense. The next solar eclipse that's going to happen is September 1st. This one's probably the most extreme. And this one, actually, what we'll do is, I think we should post it up. I'll do a little screen share and we'll kind of go through it for people, because this one's the hot tamale. Like, this one is like the hottest of the tamales. Like really, it's so extreme. I think that this is dimension shifting. I know people might think I'm like ludicrous, but I 100% believe that we are going to go through a dimension shift, and I'll describe what that means when I pull up the chart. So let me do a quick little...
So you think we're going to go through a dimension shift with a September 1st eclipse?
Correct.
All right. Let's hear more about that. That sounds... All
right. Can everybody see what I'm looking at here?
Yes.
Okay, so here's the deal. Let's look at this eclipse, right? It's in Virgo, right? Virgo is a mutable sign, number one, an earth sign. So when you have mutable earth, it's kind of like, moving around the earth, right? It's change. It's your physical reality as well. It rules the sixth house. It rules your body. It rules your health. But more importantly, it rules reality, day-to-day life, And so when you have a solar eclipse in the north node happening here in Virgo, this is a huge reality shift. Now, if you look at this, it's happening at 9 degrees of Virgo. Now, it's going to make an exact square to Saturn within not even less than a degree. See, Saturn will be at 10:04. The sun will be at 9:23. So it's exact. And so whenever you deal with a sun or a moon square Saturn, it's depression, it's hard work, it's slavery in many ways too. But what it is you having to make a major life decision. And the major life decision is in Sagittarius, your future. The change in your reality. What direction do you want to go? And the reason why I say dimension is, look at this. Neptune in the south node exactly oppose the solar eclipse as well. And when you have Neptune, this dimensional, because Neptune rules the dimension, it rules like the layers of consciousness, it rules the unknown per se, but it also rules, because Jupiter is the ruler of Pisces as well, it rules your belief of spiritually where you're going and what dimension you're riding on. Pisces has actually got just as much darkness as light. It's a mutable sign. You either are riding the consciousness of like completely being blind and insane, or you're riding the wave of total compassion, love, and sanity. So it's the sign of being insane. And we're seeing it in our politics right now. We're seeing it all over the place. Like, what side are you going to pick by September 1st? I don't want to say politically, but it might happen. But I think that you come into a place in your life where you make the biggest lifelong decision you've made in, let's say, gosh, your whole life might feel this way because you've never seen a solar eclipse opposed Neptune with Saturn square it. This is where the whole world is flexible enough for you to make anything happen. The bummer is that it's so strong and the intensity on Saturn is so big. It's like a building being put under so much pressure, and the frames are bending, you know, like, because Saturn is a strong sign. It's a strong planet, but it's also it rules your bones, it rules your teeth, it rules buildings, it rules rules, it rules laws. These are all being broken down by Neptune, diluting it, right? Neptune is the biggest water. It's the oceans diluting the rules, diluting your bone, it's diluting everything. And then when it's diluting the sun and moon, your emotions, which is connecting with your soul, the sun, this is where you manifest, right? A solar eclipse is like what you're about to manifest, the new moon. And look at this. Jupiter will be on its last days of being in Virgo. Also, Mercury will just have gone retrograde and be conjuncting this. This means that there's this huge look into the future, this huge look into the life that you want, and everything's flexible, but what side are you going to pick? It's sides. Mutable signs are sides. They're all two sides. And I think that this is an insane route or a sane route. I think that this is a reality route or a complete fantasy that you're like being a complete retard if you go that route, and you'll know it. And Saturn is saying, be real, like be realistic and pick a path that's optimistic, but pick a path that you can actually reach. Because Saturn teaches Sagittarius, there are lots of hopes, there are lots of dreams, but unfortunately, not all of them can be made when Saturn is there. Like, sure, I'd love to make my penis on my nose and have it work, but that just won't happen. I use such a stupid analogy because we can believe anything in our life, but with Saturn there, only the things that really will make it to the end of the mountain or the end of time or to the actual achievement are being pressured under. So you're at a major life decision by September 1st where it's like, this is real. This is what's going to get me there. This will actually work. This is believable. And this isn't insane. This is also psychological conditions coming out, because anytime that I'm going to be very honest, people born on this day are susceptible to seizures. In all of the old astrology, especially the ancient astrology, whenever you have a mount up of this much mutable energy, it rules seizures, it rules carnivals, it rules carnies, it rules energy that's all over the place, right? Like a carny lives on the road and is from city to city and all over the place. And it's like, wah, and it's kind of crazy and all over the place. And it rules seizures because there's no stability anywhere. If you notice, the only thing that's keeping things stable during this time will be Pluto and Capricorn. And it's going to be in a nice trine to this area. But Pluto itself is like an invisible planet per se. So it's not a very sturdy time at all. And you kind of it's like the Wheel of Fortune. You're kind of spinning the wheel and hoping that you land on your sane, realistic, big, beautiful vision and go for it. Or are you going backwards and doing this kind of Chiron, Neptune, South Node? Like, are you going to try and relive the past again? Or are you going to go into the future? And it's kind of like a huge split. And I think that the dimensions are going to split on Earth. I think Earth's coming into a collision with all the multi-dimensional doorways. And they're all going to be shown in front of you. And which way do you go? It could be very scary at the same time because it's like, wow, all the doors are here. But you know inside your gut what's right. You know what's realistic, and you know where you really want to go. And that's how I'm looking at September 1st.
Okay, awesome, David. Would you say, you gave like lots of different choice points. You know, we could either go this direction or this direction. Would you say that fear or love is also part of the choice point there?
Well, yeah, we will have Venus at home in Libra, which is good, and it's, close by, but this is a Mercury retrograde happening during this thing. So it makes it like, there's a lot of doubt. There's a lot of like, especially Sun, Moon, square Saturn is doubt, right? It's always like, oh man, I don't know. It doesn't look good, or, oh man, should I do this? I think that you have to step into a belief that you can create the reality of love, whatever, if it's a job, a relationship, whatever it is, you really need to like believe in it and go for it and look at the realistic ways to do it. And if it's got a realistic path, you jump on it. But if you're trying to walk on water, think again. You know what I mean? Like, or if you're, this is going to be very hard, I think, for people that are on drugs right now or have alcohol problems or addiction issues. Like, this is going to bring this stuff up to where it's like, oh my God, no longer can you really do this anymore. Because when you get this much by Virgo opposing Pisces, the Virgo wins, right? It's a solar eclipse. It's a north node. It's a Jupiter. That's a Mercury. Do you know how heavy that is? That's heavy. Neptune, South Node, and Chiron is light. This battle is not being won by Pisces. So you have to have a realistic dream. A fantasy dream that doesn't work, you have to leave behind. And that might be hard for people. Virgo's very critical, realistic, especially with Mercury in its home sign retrograding in Virgo. It's like, here's the real facts. But the good news is Jupiter's there saying, hey, it's positive. There might be this one door that works, might not be this multi-dimensional door that you just like get lost in your, I hate to be honest, like just people just like losing themselves into things that really aren't going to work. You need that imagination though. Don't get me wrong, because Pisces is in the mix, but it's salt instead of bread. Or it's the butter instead of the bread. The bread is the Virgo. And how funny, bread is ruled by Virgo. And so, can you really turn water into wine? Is kind of the question of this. And I think this is the most powerful eclipse we've ever seen in our lives, personally. It's never been this extreme.
Well, I think it's going to be interesting. So it sounds like we're all going to have some big decisions to make and some choice points. And we can start thinking about those now. I mean, because we probably have indicators of what kinds of things might be brought up. And it seems like today on a new moon might be a good time to at least set intentions to align with the path that we want to align with, not knowing exactly what those factors or variables will be. But really get clear on the direction that we want to go and the qualities of our life that we want to experience. And then as the choices come up, we can refer back. I know that's so helpful for me. A lot of times I'll take your weekly, I'm a Capricorn, so I'll take your weekly zodiac, video, and I'll make goals for the week based on what you're saying, or set my intentions based on what you're saying and the different things that might come up. So it sounds like we could all start doing some prep work for that now, which may make it less likely that we fall into some illusion when the choice comes.
I think that's a great way to put it. I think Pluto and Capricorn, like I said, is the one thing holding this whole thing together. And it really is looking at your long term. Plus Saturn is the big major aspect of the square. And Saturn rules, your long-term goals and staying on track. And so in the middle of all these great opportunities, because it is Saturn in Jupiter-ruled Sagittarius, what really will work? And what really can you really make happen? And what is delusional and what is not delusional? I mean, I hate to be that guy saying that, but, it's all going to come out by then. It's going to be like, yeah, you know, and you know, I think there's a part of us that wants these things that might not happen to happen. But if you look on the other side of that, like, well, how could I make this happen? Oh, this is the way I can do it. Let's take that road. Even though it might not be the most exciting road, because guess what? Saturn squares are not fun, and they're not exciting, and they're not Uranian. And Virgo is not a very, I'm not putting any Virgo down, but Virgo is not an exciting sign, right? It's an earth changeable. It's where you like have to do the cleaning. You know what I mean? It's like, oh fuck, I gotta clean this thing, man. It's dirty. I gotta put it, you know, it's like, it's when the fridge falls down, you gotta like clean the fridge and put everything back in it. You know, it's like, it's not exciting, but man, it makes your life everything the way that you want it to be. And how more beautiful is that?
That's beautiful. Well, could it also be a timing thing? Like maybe we have things we want to bring about in our life, and maybe our expectations around timing are unrealistic. And so
very well put.
Okay, because I think it's Tony Robbins. I actually feel like I've heard this quote from a lot of different people, but that quote that we overestimate what we can accomplish in 1 year, but we underestimate what we can accomplish in 10 years. So maybe it's just sort of, you know, shifting our expectations around the timing that things are going to come from.
I like that. And you're right. Saturn rules time, and it really is about timing. It's the long-term goals. And the way I look at it is like, this is a long journey. You know, it's Saturn and Sagittarius. It's a freaking long one. So pick a really good one, and pick one that's realistic, and pick one that's really going to be good and healthy for your life. What all Virgo is healthy. You know, Pisces, unfortunately, actually does not deal with health well. It deals with like, oh, this isn't healthy for me, right? That's why the 12th house is always where things can go really wrong, because it's like, you know, it's like mounted up issues per se. And subconscious issues. And so, I mean, it's really good, but it's also really hard, because I think it's so intense and it's so much pressure. And I think it's so crazy that it's only a month away. I mean, that's just like less than a month away. And that's what blows my mind is, if we take a step back and we look at this new moon happening today and Mars coming out of Scorpio, the Scorpio story is over. So the Sag story begins, and adventure and research and belief and trajectory is everything now. And of course, depending on your sun sign, what does Sagittarius rule? That's going to be the pressure spot, or whatever house that's in your chart. That's going to be the pressure, spot. You know, I mean, we can run through the signs real quick and the pressure spot just real quick. Like for Aries, it's going to be beliefs. It's going to be everything I just talked about, because Aries ruled the chart. So they're the first sign. Their ninth house is Sagittarius. For them, it's the pressure between kind of what I talked about, like a new reality shift and a belief shift. And can you really do this, or are you just like fooling yourself? For Tauruses, it's like learning to open up the doors again, especially with people, romantically, emotionally, sexually. Maybe even letting some secrets out, you know, or letting some things out that you haven't been able to let out, that you've been holding inside for too long. I think Tauruses have been really holding on to a lot. They've also have to kind of confront a lot of their 8th house stuff, like maybe some sexual repression or some sexual issues that are coming up, and the squares to their 5th house and the squares to their 11th house. So it has to deal with like, you know, connection with people. And I think they had such a hard 4 years with relationships with Scorpio that I think they're kind of learning to finally open back up again. For Geminis, it's one-on-one relationships. It's like the pressure's on, are you going to really enter into a one-on-one relationships? Geminis have had very difficult times with relationships. I don't know what it is, but like for a long time, like I think like Geminis have been waiting so long because, you know, it opposes their sign, right? And they have a lot going on with Neptune in their career house and all this energy in Virgo, which is their 4th house. And so they're making a big decision on the relationships they pick in their life, kind of determine who they're going to be, how they're going to be, and where they're going to live, and how they're going to make their career choices per se. So, you know, they're making big, big decisions on who they are going to have in their corner. Cancers, on the other hand, they're in a good space. I would say that Cancers are in a really good space. They're just like learning how to like find a new rhythm. You know, the 6th house is your rhythm. They're finding a new schedule, how to handle their life better. And with everything now in the 3rd house and the 9th house, it's like not letting these thoughts, beliefs question the new life they're in, or, you know, kind of get hard on themselves. I think Cancers can get really hard on themselves. Having 3rd house as Virgo, that's not easy. That's like critical on yourself all day. Like, oh my God, I'm not good enough. Or they didn't, you know, it's like, relax, find your rhythm. And it's going to take a while. Like, you know, it's like dribbling a basketball for the first time. Like, it's not, you're not going to be a pro, but you do it every day for a couple of weeks. The next thing you know, you can dribble up and down the court, no problem. And I think Cancers are learning to dribble, like in their new life and to their new way. And also health-wise, like, you know, like maybe your body's not the way you like it to be anymore, you know, maybe you're going to have to kind of focus on that, or maybe some sort of big health thing that you need to kind of focus on more. For Leos, it's love. It's their natural house. I think Leos, it's kind of probably one of the biggest transits, because whenever you have a Saturn transit in your own house, or your, you know, that's humongous. And so for Leos, it's like, you know, what are you putting your heart towards? What are you putting your love towards? And can you find that? And with the squares to Virgo, it's like, is it going to create something great? Or are you trying to hope that some investor or other people or some sort of like, you know, maybe even like you hope that God's just going to drop down the creation of your dream. No, you got to go out there and work it and build it. And so Leos are building and working their butts off, and it might not be fun, but it's realizing that the creation is work, even though it's your heart and it's your passion, it's work. And even love is work, and romance is work now. And to make you a better lover, to make you a better creator. The pressure for Virgos, of course, is I think probably the most intense, since they got Jupiter in their sign and they've got the North Node and they got the solar eclipse. For them, it's their emotions about relationships and how they have kind of lost themselves in certain relationships, lost their emotions, given too much away to other people, and need to focus on themselves. I mean, God's heavily investing in Virgo, right? Like overwhelming. It's like, here's Jupiter, here's Mercury retrograde, here's the North Node, here's the sun, here's the moon doing a conjunction in a solar eclipse. It's like, can the universe speak any louder to the 1st house? You know what I mean? Like, can it scream any louder? So Virgo and Virgo rising's like, you're losing yourself in other people and giving it all away. You've lost yourself. And so kind of regaining that, or, you know, it's like, I'm not going to bring up that person. We're going to move on. Libras. Poor Libras. I think Libras have been waiting a long ass time to figure out their lives. They've been weighing it up and down so much. And having this in Sagittarius is like trying to figure out why their life hasn't gone exactly the way they've wanted it to go. Part of it is, this is such a heavy 12th house transit. It's like, I'd feel bad for anybody with that much 12th house going on. It's asking for Libras to really learn to kind of reboot and start over, and to kind of give themselves the whole kind of Jesus, like, you can be washed of your sins, you can start over, like be born again. I think Libras are being born again and being okay with that, realizing that all the mistakes they made and all the things that they went through, especially like in how their life has been so mumbled jumbled because they have Neptune in their 6th house. Like, they're learning to be like, it's okay to start over and reboot and kind of like wash themselves of their sins, and to not doubt or question or try to understand so much and have anxiety or panic or worry about what's happened to them in their life, and that they can start over and become a greater person and step into a much more greater position. So Libras, you know, I really feel a lot for. Scorpios, they're doing the big shift in owning their worth. Like, they just finished a 1st house transit with Mars and Saturn, and so they're kind of having to re-identify themselves and actually like prove that it's going to work. So, you know, are you really worth it? And of course, with all this energy in Virgo, it's like social anxiety. It's like not feeling that good in the world, or feeling like people aren't, you know, giving them the love maybe that they want, or that people are going to be kind of critics to Scorpios, being like, you don't look right, or, you know, this isn't the right thing to do, or blah, 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 blah. You know, so it's like they have to deal with how people are frustrating them and own their value in the middle of all the people and all the things that the people are saying to them, and not let them lose themselves in what people say, and own their worth and go, it's okay, I hear what you said, maybe I'll take the opinion, but I'm not going to let it destroy me or destroy them at the other hand. And on the other hand, they have Neptune in the 5th house. They have these dreams that they want to create, or these romances that they're getting into, or that they're kind of having to wake up from. It's kind of like kissing a frog, you know what I mean? And it's not turning into the king. Like, it's like, oh my gosh, I got to really kind of look at my life and the trajectory and maybe rebuild a more valuable life and kind of own my worth better. And I think that's hard for Scorpios right now, because it's like, you know, they want what they want, but, you know, are you really owning your value? You know? And so there's a lot of let go with Scorpio, because it is opposite their 8th house, and their 2nd house is not their natural home. Scorpios are really good at the 8th. They're not good at the 2nd. So they're learning how to be stubborn. But being stubborn is one thing. Owning your value is another. Like, just buying a car because it's cheap doesn't make you set your worth right. Like, are you really going to learn to stop buying the 99-cent paper towels at CVS and actually start buying the Bounty nice ones, because they'll actually pick up everything better? Like, Scorpios are learning these really weird things, like how to live their life on a higher plane instead of down at the dumps or down at the bottom. They can reach higher. Sagittarius, of course, are learning who the hell they are. They have too many masks that they want to wear, and they have to finally kind of decide which mask and which job is the one for them, and they need to kind of pick that so they can pick where they're going to live for that, you know, and where their foundation will be. Because I think their issue is they don't know exactly, or they're trying to be 15 different things, and you can't be 15 different things. You gotta pick one right now to get exactly where you want to go. For Capricorns, it's about spirituality. It's about learning that you're kind of clearing out the past and moving forward into bigger doors, right? All this Virgo energies in the 9th house. It's like there's more opportunity than ever in your life, but any blocks that are in the way are going to be highlighted. And so you're just learning to get rid of the blocks. With all this Neptune in the 3rd house, the way you think it should be is not the way that it's going to be. You're having to learn to try new things, go new places, experience new people, experience new things. And this whole notion in lost, you know, because when you have Pisces in the 3rd house, it's like, you know, you think you've got it right, but really you don't right now. Like, see what others are doing, or see, you know, learn and see how other people did it in their life or got where they wanted to go. And don't get so lost in how you think it should be. This is your time to get rid of your own belief and mental blocks. For Aquarians, where have you all been? All your friends are knocking on the door being like, hey, where'd you go? Connecting with people and not just one relationship is Aquarius when it's at its peak. When Aquarius is in the corner and gone and pieced out, hiding behind a planet in a UFO, you're not doing your job. Aquariuses have to kind of confront that in order to get what they want now, they have to come out of hiding and connect to people that they can't do it on their own. They got the 2nd house with Neptune and it's obliterated. So their tools are gone, and other people have the tools and other people have the connections, and you need to get back out there and start connecting with people to make it happen. You can't do it on your own, unfortunately. And the last sign, Pisces, relationships for them reflect who they are, especially with what career path that they're going in. So at the long term is Pisces are really ready to finally find their path, but they need to reflect the right people in their life, because with their 1st house really confused and Chiron there, like whoever inspires you or whoever is in your life is going to reflect you well. So your relationships are kind of under the radar, really intense, because they could be swaying you in the right or the wrong direction and determine if you'll actually reach where you want to reach or not. So that's all the 12 signs.
Very nice. Thank you for going through that. So how about the eclipse in the middle of September? What's the theme around that one?
So the theme for this eclipse, this one's not, I'm so very honest about astrology. This one is not my favorite eclipse either. This one's a lunar eclipse happening conjunct Chiron. So, and it's in Pisces, you know, and it's sensitive. And this one's going to highlight that in order for us to move forward in life, especially now that Jupiter has entered Libra, in the middle of the two eclipses from September 1st to September 16th, Jupiter moves into Libra. How funny. And what this is showing is now to find balance in your life, you got to let go of the past. So this is going to be a big past let go. Anything that's ever happened that's kind of, and maybe, I'll be honest with you, the things that have kind of happened over the last 4 years that still are kind of tingling around you have to be released. The other thing is, look at Venus, right? Venus is going to be opposing Uranus. So this one's going to be dealing a lot with like reinventing the wheel per se, reinventing yourself, reinventing your values of yourself, you know, new relationships and how the past can affect them and how you have to let go of the past to not affect your relationships anymore. This one's also going to have Saturn and Neptune still square, so we're still kind of unsure of where things are going. This one's also, if you notice, an exact T-square with Mars, which is masculinity, direction, and drive, and it's humbling, right? Chiron square Mars, blah. Lunar eclipse square Mars, blah. So both the eclipses are squaring Saturn and Mars, the malefics. Not easy. The only two malefic planets. And how in the hell are they both squaring them at the exact same time? I just am like, I laugh at God. I'm like, oh, yeah, your timing is so perfect. This means that it's going to be challenging, but it's going to be about really identifying with the life you want and letting the past go and moving into the future. Finally, this is the moment. Finding your courage, finding your strength to move out of the past, finding, you know, not feeling like you've been given a bad hand, moving into this direction. If you also notice, look at this. Juno and Black Moon Lilith will be conjunct in Scorpio, while we have Venus in its natural planet as Hind. So I think that this is going to be the quote-unquote the relation aspect of the eclipses. You'd think it would be the solar eclipse, but I think this one's much more triggered because Venus is in opposition to Uranus. We also have what was I going to say? Oh, the Jupiter now in Libra. So it's like doubly more about relationships. And then on top of that, if you think about this, it's this Juno, Black Moon, Lilith, like this really wanting to connect so deeply with your twin or so deeply with somebody and you'll do whatever for it. Are you willing to let go of the past? Are you willing to like really move forward into a new future? And that's how I'm looking at this one. This one is not stable either. It's all immutable signs, but at least Jupiter is out of the mutable energy, which adds for a little bit of an ease per se. But, it is on Chiron, so how we heal ourselves, we all have our own way to lick our wounds. I think that there's going to be people that come into our life that help us, but are we going to bite them when they're trying to lick our wounds? That's a sun square Mars. It's a moon square Mars. Are you going to bite the person that's trying to help you? Is that too deep?
No, it's awesome. What about it don't you like?
Huh?
What about this eclipse don't you like?
Well, what I don't like about it is that Mars is in the middle of it. It's harsh and abrasive and not good for the moon. The moon in Pisces is the fish, right? It's a little fish with its gills, in a fish tank. And here's Mars, like, kicking the fish, like, get out of my way. Especially in Sagittarius on its, it's half man, half horse running down the field, like, oh, look at this fish just kicking. It's like, ouch. There's a bite to this one. Plus, Mars is trine Uranus. So it's like, fuck you. I'll do whatever I want. Bah, I'm going to kick you. And then the emotions aren't thinking, like they're subconscious. So it's subconscious emotion, ego blast. And it's still Mercury retrograde, by the way, So, you know, both eclipses to me, even though they're both very hard, they will change your life forever. And if eclipses are easy, your life will be boring. If eclipses are hard, your life will be exciting because there's so much happening. You know what I mean? So,
All right. So we should kind of want it to be hard in some way.
yeah, like I'd rather see it hard. Like at least I'm excited because at least, you know, you're living in life and you want to watch a movie. We're watching a movie. That's my perception of life. Like it's not I don't believe we're sitting down here doing free will decisions as much as we think we are. So I think it's much more of like the seat you have at the movie. Well, I know that the last 4 years have been really intense. This is different. This is much more of a drama now, and it doesn't have a darkness to it. It has much more of a wow, things are going left, right, and we can't find center, but we're going with it. And we're healing ourselves some way. We're letting go of the past, and we're really kind of creating a new future. And with Jupiter and Venus in Libra, I really believe that there is like a way to find people that are going to help us move. We're all going to be there we're all going to find somebody to help us, you know, get through this whole period. So this is not like loner time.
Is that partially why you chose to do your event in September?
Now, the reason why I chose to do this event in September 9th through 10th, and I'll just do it on the 9th, it's because it's exactly in between the eclipses.
Mm.
So it's right in the middle point. That's the most potent time when you're in between morphing, kind of like a caterpillar into a butterfly. So if you look at why I'm doing my event on the 9th, if you see this, it's the quarter square of the moon during eclipse season, and the moon's in Sagittarius, and it's just all there. And Jupiter enters into Libra the exact day I do it. Jupiter enters Libra. I tend to do a lot of events with Jupiter entering into his new sign. And Jupiter loves Libra where it hates Virgo. Sorry, don't take it personal, Virgos. Just Jupiter is a big sign, and Virgo likes things nice and tight and needy and you know, knitted perfectly. And Jupiter would rather be in Libra where it's a little bit loose. Libra's loose. I mean, even though it's got a law and order kind of aspect, because Saturn does go to its exaltation there, Jupiter, at least in Libra, can kind of take off a little bit and kind of have a little bit more fun. Virgo's not fun. It's all like cleaning. It's all looking underneath the counters. It's like looking underneath the dirt underneath the refrigerator. Like it's not, you know, Jupiter's not having a blast over here. You know what I mean? Like Jupiter has more of a blast in a Libra because it's the diplomat. You know, it's like, ooh, we're gonna go put on my suit, and we're gonna go walk around, and we're gonna go, you know, talk to people and start, you know, connecting to people. So that's the other reason why I did this, is we're gonna be connecting to lots of people, you know. So.
Well, definitely. And you said there's going to be people coming into our lives that can help us through it. So it seems like
yes,
can probably help each other through a lot of this. We'll be each other's angels.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so big change, big transformation. Not a surprise, right? I mean, that's kind of what eclipses are about usually, right?
Oh yeah. I always tell people, if you've never followed astrology in your life, just like pay attention to when the eclipses happen and look at what's happening in your life. Like, right. But what they are, the ancients used to see them and be awestruck. Even some people died seeing the eclipses. They were so fearful or scared. So there's a fear around eclipses, but then there's also a chapter that closes and a chapter that begins through them all. So it's interesting right now, we're beginning a lot of stuff, right, with Mars entering, but it's the eclipses that stamp them, right? Because it's the only time that we can actually physically see the universe, besides the planets moving, but actually physically see the luminaries actually do master's work, per se, right? Like, it's like mastery. It's like, oh my gosh, this is like amazing. You know, we can see it. And so it's God talking. We
better listen, huh?
You always have to listen during the eclipses. And these ones you have to listen because they're both squaring the malefics. The ones that deal with harsh pain. The one that deals with, so if I were to, when you're dealing with Saturn, watch your teeth, watch your breaking a bone, watch, you know, things falling apart a little bit, but shifting into a new place. And then with Mars, it's like, man, be careful of accidents. Be careful of pushing too hard right now. Like, especially with all this, like, do not over rev the motor right now. Like, don't over rev the motor. Like, if you pop this motor, man, it's going to feel horrible. You're going to be on the side of the road in the desert and feel like there's no AAA coming. Take your time through it. With a Saturn square and a Mars square, like, you do not need to push this thing. Like, there's going to be us wanting to, like, I got to push it. I got to do it. I got to get there. And it's like, let's just take it one step at a time. Think of being a grandpa. Get your cane out and do one little step at a time.
Okay, well, this is really, really helpful. I want to see if anybody has any questions that they want to ask David. I mean, I'm taking away from this the need to pause. If you do have questions, go ahead and put it in the chat. But I'm thinking just, the need to pause, that there's a desire to be moving forward, but to just kind of check ourselves and stay present. And also with the second eclipse, the word that kept coming to my mind was that, taking that observer standpoint and just kind of being entertained, just watching it and letting, things happen around us and be in the middle of it and be entertained.
I like that. I mean, Pisces is entertaining. It is the media, but this also means there is a deception from the media that will happen through this time. Major. We will all be fooled. And we can't be fooled. We need to see through the being fooled. Yeah.
Okay, so we have a question. I'm asking if we can do the questions in the Q&A, because the chat is moving so fast that I can't even keep up with them.
Yeah, it looks like we got over 500 people in here. So
yeah, we do. Okay, so let's, one question that did scroll up real quick that I wanted to ask in the beginning too was just the overall difference between a solar eclipse and a lunar eclipse and how those are experienced. You mentioned a little bit about the intensity, but can you talk to that a little bit more?
Yeah, solar eclipses are the sun and the moon coming together. So they're coming together to create manifestation, and they're about creating. Lunar eclipses are about purging and letting go and releasing. So the fact that this solar eclipse, is happening in Virgo, it's like creating a new reality. This lunar eclipse in Pisces is letting go of the past, especially in Chiron, past wounds, past shit that happened to you, past bad hands you've been dealt. Like, subconsciously, they're still hanging around because Neptune rules the subconscious in your subconscious. Like, even though you might think that it's gone, or the physical aspect of this reality is gone, the truth is it's not gone. You got to kind of release it.
Okay, awesome. All right, so I'm going to get a couple more questions. Let's see here in the Q&A. I cannot access the Q&A right now. Sorry about that, everybody. Okay. Okay, so here we go. What will be the influence on those born under total solar or lunar eclipse? Yeah.
If you were born on a solar eclipse, I mean, of course, I guess you could say solar eclipses affect you a lot, but if it's making aspects to it, like, everybody's goes through the whole solar eclipse thing, just when you're born under a solar eclipse, your story in those houses and those nodes are going to be this, it's a little bit more potent. I think you need to pay more attention to your prenatal eclipses. So, like, what were the eclipses that happened before you were born, and how do these eclipses affect those? Now, that's some deep stuff. That's a whole nother webinar. But prenatal eclipses are looking at the eclipses that happened before you were born. So there's always a solar eclipse that happened right before you were born, and then there was a lunar eclipse that happened before you were born. And they're usually in the sign of wherever your nodes are at, pretty much. Sometimes they're in the sign next to it, but they're usually in the same houses of wherever your nodes are. But that's where you pay attention to more. Are they affecting your prenatal eclipses or not? Are these eclipses affecting those? That's when you'll see, oh my gosh, it's a little bit over too intense. And of course, it depends on if this is your sign or if this is your nodes already.
Okay, awesome. All right, so before you mentioned something about a big dimensional shift, do you want to talk a little bit more about what you mean by that? I mean, is our reality going to shift? How are we going to experience a dimensional shift?
So this is me taking off my astrology hat.
Yeah.
But I'll put it back on in a second. this is coming from my Palladian channel. Earth has been on a trajectory towards what we call understanding the multi-dimensional universe, which we all have been tapped into with the Pluto-Uranus square of the last 3 years. The last 3 years really took us to the edge of the universe and saw it in ways in our own self that we never even thought were possible, that scared the shit out of us. It was a cliffhanger. It was like, oh my God, I can see all this crap. Earth now is heading into a space where, and Dolores Cannon can get some of the credit, you know, where there's like a new Earth being created, and we've been talking a lot about this. Even Eckhart Tolle talks about it. Like, you know, what side are you on? Are you going to go on the unconscious Earth or the conscious Earth? That's what Neptune rules. That's what this reality. Personally, and one of my astrologers I used to be best friends with, his name is Christopher Witecki. He also kind of believed that Earth was ruled by Taurus. But, you know, what's interesting to me is Virgo is reality. It's everything outside of Earth. It's even the stars. It's the heavens. It's everything in this whole galaxy that our physical bodies can see. And the fact that it's coming to a convergence with an exact opposition during a solar eclipse with Jupiter in the North Node and Mercury retrograde and all of that hitting Neptune means that this is the collision course. Literally, they're opposing exact. So we're about to come into where you pick your side, but deeper than that, where you really can start to see future and past lives in the same, you can really connect them together and see how they're connected to you in this reality right now and have this really clear vision, and then make this big decision and take off on that and really connect with your future lives and your past lives and how they all kind of trajectory are moving towards this certain, you know, destiny per se in your life. Saturn does rule your destiny and it is squaring it. And so that's how I would do it from Palladian view, is like the Earth is about to merge and go through this, like, you know, think of it like kind of the screen of the pool, and imagine us being a little bug, you know, as Earth and all on it going into that screen, and like which little hole are we going to go through here? Like, you know, it's the best way I could describe it. And which one works for you and which one kind of connects with all that stuff. And then once we get through this, I think this might sound crazy, but if we really live in a multi-dimensional universe, I mean, there are multiple different Earths existing at different times. If you ever watch the movie or the show Sliders, it was like one of my favorite shows, and it's actually on Netflix. You can watch it, where they would go to different dimensions of Earth, you know? And there was like all these different ones. I think that we're all about to kind of like embark on our own slide per se to the life that we view our consciousness to be at. So in some people's, they might go into World War III. To others, you know, they finally, if they're building their bunker in their house, they're going to finally need to use the bunker. But then there's other people like who are probably watching this that believe in love and positivity and hope and dreams and going into changing a universe and a consciousness and bringing light to it. And that's going to happen. So, you know, you got to be careful of where your beliefs are at this moment and really see if they're truthful and got reality, or if they're just from you being high on weed, or because it's from your acid trip 5 years ago, or, you know, you gotta you know, do the science and look at it and be like, this belief, you know, you got to kind of do your homework a little bit here, you know?
Okay, I have a sort of random question, and then we have some other great questions from the audience. But do you feel a particular connection to Hawaii, and or have you been to Hawaii? And there's a reason why I'm asking you this.
I have not felt a connection yet to Hawaii, and I haven't been there yet. No.
Well, the reason why I'm asking is because I've studied with some Hawaiian kahunas, and a lot of the Hawaiians believe that they came from the Pleiades. So there's like a really strong connection to the Pleiades and Hawaii. So I was just curious.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Like a lot of Lumerian energy. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Lots of Lumerian energy for sure. Okay. All right. For those of you who don't know, I live on Maui, so that's why I'm particularly interested. All right. So here we go. What will be the effects globally of the eclipses?
Deception. A story that's going to try and alter all of our consciousness to go in a direction that we do not want to go. and you will see it clear as day if you're aware of it, or you'll be led like a blind sheep into it if you're not aware of it. It's already happening. You can already start seeing it happening on the media with politics. I mean, I kind of got caught up in it at first. I do my show Astro Mingle or Astro Buzz, you know, where I cover political stories and I try and stay in the middle. But of course, me, you know, of course, like I feel one way, like I like one candidate more than the other, like anybody would. But at the end of the day, especially in the last week, I was like, I don't like either one of them because this is all just a deception story. This is a deception story. It's too much. South Node is entering into its conjunction with Neptune over the next until November. How ironic. And it is just a perfectly orchestrated story. It's too perfectly orchestrated. And we are all being sucked energetically into this story for some reason. So I think we all need to kind of like see that this is all just an illusion and it's all BS and it's all media. Neptune rules media. And when it's in its home sign, the media is going to be at its strongest. When the South Node is on there, it's going to be at its darkest as well. And so you kind of have to do the Virgo thing and kind of like separate and kind of see what's real and kind of follow much more of a healthy place and maybe disconnect a little bit from that kind of media. I think that this is a shift for the world to kind of come out with different media outlets. Hence, you're doing Astrology Hub. I'm doing the Leo King and doing Astro Buzz and all these things. There's other networks. There's other people out there that are going to push things that aren't deceptive, that aren't biased, that aren't trying to push an agenda, that are just trying to relate more beautiful, healthy, conscious, like it's like food, like it's like the media's fast food now. It's like delivering you Burger King with like, you know, a bunch of ketchup and like a bunch of grilled shit all over it. And it's like, I don't know if I can keep eating this anymore, you know? But I think that there's going to be a story so deceitful in the next month. And we're all going to be like, especially the aware people are going to be like, oh my gosh, this is bullshit. This is a lie. And we're all going to, you know, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, but I can tell you that. I can predict that.
Fascinating. Okay. Is it
Don't buy it. Don't buy it. My guides are screaming right now. Don't buy it.
Okay.
Don't buy it.
Okay. All right. So is it better to start a business or a venture before or after the eclipses?
100% after. Before is the end of the chapter. So you got to remember the last eclipse happened 6 months ago. So we're at the end. Plus, this is a Mercury retrograde in the middle of these eclipses. And we're at Mercury right now. You know, it's at its home sign, but, you know, it's in the middle of so much going on. Like, personally, I would wait till after. I would wait till once Mercury gets out of Virgo or at least direct in Virgo. But the thing is Mercury will be in shadow through most of Virgo when it's direct, like on the other half. So, you know, I think like this is a time to kind of position yourself and get everything positioned and then kind of launch in mid-fall. And maybe Scorpio time. To be honest, this is going to be the first time Scorpio has been cleaned the hell out. So Scorpio time is looking really good for us all because Sagittarius has Saturn in it. So it's like, oh, I don't know about.
Okay. So people are wanting specifics on actually how long this eclipse energy is lasting. It's like when
until October. So until like the first week of October.
Okay. All right. What about things like surgery and, you know, medical procedures?
Well, with this lunar eclipse squaring Mars, I don't know if I'd have surgery around that lunar eclipse. Any other time though, I mean, and also Mercury is retrograde through this whole one. So if you can schedule it, I would schedule it all for after. But if it's like life or death, let God take over, you know. But it also is good though that Mercury is in the sign of surgery and that there is a lot of energy in Virgo, which rules surgery. So this isn't one to focus so much on surgery as much as more as the drugs, more of the medications that you're on, being careful about the dosage, knowing the dosage, not overdosing, like making sure you're paying attention, not being like unconscious, like, oh, I'm just going to eat this pill and oh shit, I had too much. I shouldn't, you know, that stuff is more scary.
Okay. All right. How do the eclipses that are coming up compare to the ones that happened in March?
Well, the ones in March where we had Chiron involved with the solar eclipse, then finished that last lunar eclipse in Libra and Aries. These ones are happening in the same signs, where the last ones happened in different signs, right? Like different energies. So it was kind of scattered, and it was kind of just like, and it was closing the whole Libra Aries story. And that was a long, long transit of eclipses. We had like, I'm sorry I don't have the notes and the facts here, but I think we had like 4 lunar eclipses through Aries and Libra. It was like crazy. It was like, oh, another one, you know. It was like, it was just too much. So it closed that. And what it did was that helped close a lot of the energy you were going through from like 2013, 14, and 15. It kind of helped with that energy. And then combined with all the Saturn Scorpio stuff, like here we are finally leaving all of that with these eclipses, like really pushing into a whole new future. And like, you'll kind of like look at this boundary line per se, like this wall right here, you know, like we're moving on the other side. Everything that was in this room is finally over the last 4 years. And we really kind of see what's on the other side of this wall, but we can't see with Neptune. Like there's no window, you know?
Okay, awesome. So in terms of, for people personally, if the solar or lunar eclipses are directly hitting their sun, moon, or north node, what significance or what added significance does it have for them?
Well, I hate to give like more of a general aspect because everybody's unique, and of course every situation's unique, but I would pay more attention to the nodes, because that's more of the position, and the nodes mean you're having your return usually, or you're having your opposition. So those are also going to be those houses that really you're working on for your destiny. So I would pay more attention to when eclipses are happening in your nodal aspects, and I would pay more attention when eclipses are happening near your access points, like your rising, your midheaven, your bottom IC, or your descendant, more than your sun and your moon. I had a solar eclipse square my sun, and you know, it was crazy and everything, and it was hard, but it was exact. But it wasn't that really got me. It was more of the transits that were happening, and it amplified the harder transits I was going by the sun, right? And when I had a solar eclipse on my moon, it was like, oh my gosh, the position of that moon, it was in the 10th house. That's when my whole career took off. So, you know, pay attention to the houses and what that's doing, and it will illuminate that extremely. Also, when I had I have a sun in the 12th house. When the solar eclipse squared my sun in the 12th house, I almost went insane. I thought I was going insane. I actually even entered into a mental hospital to see if I was sane, because the energy was so crazy. They're like, no, you're sane, dude. Don't even worry about it. You just have panic disorder. I'm like, oh, shit. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's important. But, you know, I think the nodes are stronger when they happen in those signs.
Right. Okay. All right. So let's sort of wrap this up. This is a question. I don't know if you want to answer this with your astrologer hat on, or with your Pleiadian channel hat on, or what, but in terms of what this eclipse is preparing us for, sort of long term, what would you say that these eclipses are preparing us all for?
Dimension shifts. Like, you know, what level of dimension do you want to go on? You know, what earth do you want to live on? What spiritual plane do you want to live on? What reality do you want to live in? What adventure do you want to really go for? And what do you want to learn? Because adventures are just great learning lessons. And so we can choose the level of how high we want to learn and how low we want to learn. You know, maybe we don't want to learn that much. Maybe we want to keep it simple. Or maybe we want to reach really high and we want to learn the biggest lesson. And I think this is where the bar is being set, kind of like at the gym with when you're, you know, picking how much weight you're going to put on to, you know, you were kind of getting the option to see how much you want to lift.
That's awesome. Okay, great. All right. So I want to spend a little time talking about the special gifts that we have for everybody who's listened to this webinar. And the first one is around your event coming in September. Astrology Hub is in huge support of this event, having these venues where everybody can get together and really cultivate that sense of community, and we're all in this together and have some fun and learn some astrology. We're like fully behind. So do you want to talk a little bit more about the event and what it's going to be like? And then we can let everybody know who's on the webinar that the Leo King is offering you a special discount on the event for attending this webinar. So why don't you just talk a little bit more about it so everybody knows what's going on?
Yeah, so the event is called Hope in the Desert. It's going to be in Las Vegas, September 9th through the 11th. And it really is all about bringing hope back into our lives. And it's an awesome astrology conference. And I've been to so many that I get disappointed every time because I feel like it's like, okay, there's a speaker and you go sit there and then like, that's it. Like I wanted to throw a party and a conference for astrology people. So there's a mixture on Friday where everybody gets broken up into their signs. I have a whole beautiful club in Las Vegas rented out where everybody's going to be putting their element, but then individual signs. Then there's going to be like a whole comedy routine I do, but that's how we get to know each other. And I'm teaching astrology through actually like using people like pawns, like on a chessboard as their sign and stuff. And it's really cool to interact with other people who like astrology like you. Like it's the only mixer really going down. Then Saturday is all about conference. It's an 8-hour conference. I've broken it down into 8 specific sections with 15-minute breaks in between where I'm going to break down the history of astrology, the future of astrology, what's coming after these eclipses, breaking you down to help you understand how to look at your chart better, how to understand what's going on in the universe, some really creepy spiritual stuff that people kind of want to know more about, my own research, especially about understanding the roots of astrology, with the Catholic Church and a lot of stuff like that, like just crazy presentations. There's a dinner at the end, so it doesn't matter if you attend for 1 day or the 3-day, you still get to come to the dinner. So we have a huge dinner with all the people who come. Like, you know, if you were at a wedding, you know, huge tables everywhere, huge floor with a bunch of people. And then afterwards, there's a whole spiritual dance party where I'm doing my spiritual house dance music where everybody comes live. We all get to dance together, mingle. I don't drink, but I do offer drinks for people. So there's drinks, there's a bar there. Everybody's going to like get to connect and we're all going to let loose because with all this energy going and with all this dimension shifting, I want people to like really bring the hope and really all come together and we all raise our vibration together and we all kind of choose our paths. You know, maybe you meet somebody there, I don't know, and you kind of go on that path with them or whatever. And then Sunday is my prayer day where I get everybody in the same room. There's no seats. I throw the seats away. I tell them, get all the seats away. Everybody take off your shoes, whatever. And we all are going to help each other out. So people can come in the middle of the circle and share. It's an opportunity for people to really be there for each other. It's kind of an open format spiritual channel thing that I do of like what Spirit's asking me to do, where people are going. Sometimes I do psychic readings for people just out of nowhere. I bring them up, I ask if their story, other people can kind of interject. But it's mainly about really showing that we all have each other's backs. And it kind of is an overview of the weekend and what we went through and all the things we experienced. And that kind of is an all-day thing. If you buy a VIP ticket or your platinum ticket, you have an opportunity to actually hang out at the pool with me on Monday and talk astrology. And that's only for VIP and platinum people. So I'm going to have a cabana at the pool and then people can come and hang out with me literally and sit and chill and get to know me better and talk astrology or talk about what they think about. I'm doing some private readings too, but only for platinum and VIP members that will buy. And that's a separate price too. But
all right. This sounds so amazing. So fun. I'm really, really, really hoping to get myself out there as well. I would love to meet all of you out there and dance and pray and learn about astrology. It sounds incredible. And so David's offering all of us a $50 off coupon. So if you do want to attend the event, you can use the coupon code Astrology Hub and get $50 off your ticket. So I would love to connect with all of you out there. It's going to be amazing. I mean, it's just such a cool vision, and just to see it all come forth is going to be really cool. So thank you for offering that to us. And then I wanted to offer all of you, we have a New Moon Essentials Guide. It's free. It's a free download. It is a guide that's going to help you really utilize the new moon energy to manifest what you want in your life and to use the fertile energy of the new moon. We go through all the different moon signs, and so you can learn how to use the different new moon energies to really get intentional with your life, which I know all of us are on this phone. I mean, all of us that are listening in, we're wanting to create awesome lives for ourselves and for each other and for our families and our communities. So we have that guide. The link is in the chat if any of you want to check that out. It's free and available to everybody who joined this webinar. So, David,
awesome.
Yeah, is there anything that you wanted to add before we close out?
Yeah, don't be scared. I mean, I think that's one thing we learned through Scorpio is we scare ourselves, and fear is just fear. And even though, yes, when you get into heavy squares and eclipses, it can be fearful and scary, but at the same time, it's edgy and exciting. And I think it's about being more excited about what's going on, being more open. You know, Saturn and Sagittarius is teaching us to be open and realize that at any moment when you think the door is closed, there's another door to open. There's always a window open with Jupiter. That's what Jupiter rules. And so the lesson is that every door is always open around you, that God always has a way around this. God always has a door to open. And that this is a time for you to really start opening new doors that you've never opened before, and to not be afraid of them, and to not like have them be. And of course, when the universe calls, it's always like pay attention to that. And so pay attention to that message. That message is amazing right there. That don't be afraid. Open the doors, experience it. Don't be afraid, because Sagittarius is about having no fear to go on the adventure. If you still are caught up in your Scorpio, you never go on your Sagittarius.
All right. Fear not, huh? Let's just go forward, and there's opportunity, and a lot of times I think of that fearful feeling, or the nervousness or anxiety. If we just redefine it as excitement, and then you can experience the same feeling, but be excited instead of nervous and anxious. So
yes, and I think relationships are about to move into a much more better position than they've been for a long time. Like Scorpio really made the glue hard. So it felt like you were trying a relationship and then the glue didn't stick. Because literally, well, I'm going to get a little sexual here, but yeah, you know, like Scorpio rules the sex organs and they are sticky. So, you know, it's like without the stickiness, it doesn't stick. And now that Scorpio's kind of clear, relationships start to stick again. Everything's starting to happen. But, you know, whether or not you find somebody on your same belief system, that's a whole different story.
Well, we're holding out hope. Hope in the desert, right?
That's right.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining. David, thank you so much for this generous offering of your time. Hope to meet so many of you in September, and let's stay connected. This is awesome. Thank you so, so much.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say, I mean, we have one-day tickets available, and with the $50 off, it's only like a couple $100 to come out. Find a cheap hotel room in Vegas. There's cheap ones, and come out. I mean, it's really cheap. So
awesome. That's a great option.
All right.
All
well,
right.
Thank you so much, man. I love what you're doing.
Thanks. You too, David. All right. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Aloha.